welcome back to the 4th episode of the Superman Collector's Vlog. We have some really exciting stuff today because today we are talking all about prototypes. That's right, we're talking about the toys of Superman through the years and the prototypes and steps of how to make those toys and toys that were never released to the public. So probably a good deal of stuff you guys have never seen before. But first, before we jump into that, I just want to thank you all so much for the amazing support that you've given me in these prior 3 episodes to this channel. We're already up over 100 subscribers. We already had over 1,000 views, which means the world to me. So please, if you like this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And let's take a look at the prototypes in my collection. So here's a little preview of some of the prototypes in my collection. So when I say prototypes, and what we're referring to in this video is any item a part of the production process of a toy. So pieces of the toy that were not released to the public. So these pieces here hanging on the wall are some of my favorite pieces in my prototype collection. So long time ago, so 10, 15 years ago, a buddy of mine in the Dayton, Ohio area reached out to me and said, Zach, I know you're a Superman guy. I bought a comic book art collection and there were some Superman toy pieces in there. I was wondering if you were interested. So what these are presentation boards. So these are concept pitches. So when a toy designer is presenting to a company, to that toy company, trying to get them to create the toy they have in their mind, this is what they pitch. So as you can see here, we've got 3 different ones in the collection. Based on where I got these, we're guessing that these are probably done by Kenner. It looks to me like these are post-Superpowers, so after the 1980s Superpowers line, but probably before the 1990s Kenner Man of Steel line. So it's pretty cool. You can certainly see some similarities, at least to this one here, of the Supermobile that was in the 1980s Superpower line. But you can kind of see some of the details that they were proposing for this new Superman toy that never ended up being made. So here you can see original cardback art for the Superman animated series line. So as you can see, you have this translucent piece that kind of overlays on the top to the underside of this amazing cardback art that would go on to be used in the packaging of the animated series toys. All right, guys, one of my goals in this video here is to walk you through how a toy is made, specifically through the lens of these Superman toys we all know and love. So one of the things I showed you earlier were those kind of concept and pitch pieces, or those presentations boards. Well, once a toy company would decide or get a license for a particular toy line, they have to learn about the characters. So this came from 2 awesome friends of mine, Ryan and Sean. They own the Cincinnati Toy Museum. Check it out. But Kenner Toys, which was here in the area, was one of the people who had a license to Superman toys. They made a lot of the 90s Superman toys. They made the 1980s Kenner Superpowers. But as you can see, this was a piece to them sent over by, I believe, DC Comics. It's the Superman Bible for Kenner. So super cool stuff. And inside of it, they would list out to Kenner Toys who Superman was, his origin, his story, his powers, pictures, and different covers of different comic books here. And that way the toy designers could use this for inspiration to design some of the toys. So it's cool. You got the Superman in recovery suit there. They've got pictures there of that black suit Superman, and just plenty of information for those toy designers to work with. Along the same lines, we have over here the who's who in the Superman universe, and kind of the same thing, just an informational packet that the toy companies could use to design the toys we all know and love. So I'm lucky because one of the biggest manufacturers of toys in the 70s and 80s was Kenner Toys, located in Cincinnati, Ohio, just about an hour from where I live. So Kenner made Star Wars, Mask, Superpowers, a number of other toy lines, and because of that, a lot of these prototype or pre-production pieces show up here in the Ohio area. So one such piece is this piece right here. So this is cool. So this is from a line called Action Masters of small die-cast figures. But they had a couple Superman pieces that never actually made it to market. So sometimes what Kenner would do to test the viability of a product line before really releasing it to the whole country is they would release it just in the Cincinnati area. So it's thought that this Reign of the Superman 4-pack is one of those such pieces. So it was only released here in the Cincinnati area. Never saw release worldwide, nationwide, anything like that. So very, very few of these made it out, and it's often considered a prototype. So these cards, these trading cards in here were unique to the set, as were these individual die-cast figures. But what's even cooler, to go back further in the production process, is several years ago, I was able to obtain a set of these 4 at auction. So whenever you're talking about making something really small, so like these 1 to 2 inch die cast figures, it's really hard when you're creating that toy to sculpt detail that small of a size. So a lot of times with these smaller die cast figures, and you'll find the same thing in Star Wars and other toy lines, is you'll find what's called 4-ups. So these 4-ups are 4 times the size of these smaller die cast figures. 4-ups, 2-ups, it just kind of depends on how much larger they are. But this would give the designers a chance to kind of work in details at a larger level before shrinking that down. So these things are super rare because obviously they were never produced at this size. And it just provides a really cool little peek into the world of what it took to design these toys. Now there's also a Superman vs. Doomsday set in the same series that I don't own yet. But you can find these 2-up or 4-ups in that toy line as well. So I would imagine if you've been collecting Superman for any period of time, you were probably familiar with this toy right here. So this was made in the late 70s, 1978 here it looks like, by the Avon Corporation. So this is an Avon shampoo bottle. Pretty cool, right? These things are fairly common. You can find them in the box like this for $25 to $50. But what's cool, and what I came across a few years ago, are some pieces that relate to the actual production of this shampoo bottle. So the first thing I came across was this guy right here. So I buy and sell vintage toys, so I have a lot of friends, and I had a buddy of mine named Ben who was at a toy show with him, and he said, "Hey, Zach, I think I have something you might like." So this right here is what's called a first shot. So this is the first thing that would come out of the mold as they were kind of testing the toy to see what the design looked like. So it didn't get painted, it didn't get finished any further, but this would be the first shot or the first piece to come out of that mold. And as you can see here, we're identical situation, except this one hasn't been painted and finished like the final product. Now, about 5 years after that, I got really lucky and I was able to actually come across one of the original molds for this piece. So as you can see, so the molds don't show as much detail on the outside as they do the inside, which is why he looks like he's got a bruised nose and just got out of a boxing match. But as you can see, this piece of rubber or plastic will be thrown in here, spun around, and then this is what will be pulled out of that mold. So it's super cool to me to have the mold, the first shot, and the final product all right there together. So we've covered concept pieces and what it's like for toy designers to pitch to companies. We've covered what the original molds look like and how first shots come out of those molds, and we can kind of see how things are. We've covered the designing process and the 2-ups and 4-ups and what it means to shrink something down. So now let's talk about what maybe the next step in the production of a toy looks like. So these are what's called mock-ups. So once you've got the toy in a spot that you're happy with, you like the molds, you like the way it looks, you like the coloring, next we have to kind of throw in that component of toy packaging. So these are some mock-ups in my collection. So as you can see, a piece like this here from Superman Returns, you've got kind of whatever packaging that toy company had laying around. This one happens to be Hot Wheels. They would kind of create a mock-up packaging, throw the figure in it, and you can see generally how it looks. This one here, I actually have the final production example for you to see compared with the mock-up example. So this is in some type of Fisher-Price box, and you can see the first shot is inside of here, and they put it in what they wanted it to look like. You can kind of see the two compared together. Pretty cool idea here. Goes beyond just toys in a situation like this, where you have a statue kind of the same way. This would go inside the, it is the Golden Age Legacy of Superman FAO Schwartz collector pack there. So this was a statue that came in. You can see this is a prototype statue inside, and this one happens to be the final packaging that they put it in. Sometimes, though, you can find something really cool in these mock-ups. So, do you recognize this toy? Probably not, unless you have some sort of Mandela effect going on, because this toy was never actually made. That's right. This is a toy that made it as far as this mock-up stage, where they had the packaging designed, they had the toy designed, and everything. So this is what's called a hard copy, which is a little bit different, and we can get into that later. But this is a late-stage prototype, hand-painted, and it was supposed to be a handheld game of Superman. You'd hold Superman in your hand, and you'd play the little video game. What's kind of funny, though, is none of the electronics are in this toy. It's all painted on, it's all drawn on. They never got that far in the toy design concept. But this came from a friend of mine, Mark, on Facebook, and it was going to be made by Tiger Toys before ultimately the toy got dropped, and they never did end up making it. All right, guys, so now that we've walked through some of that toy design process, I'd like to go back through these cases with you to show you kind of some more stuff that I have. So we'll start up here. So back to the first shots. So this is the Kryptonian battlesuit made by Kenner in the 90s. So as you can see here, here's the final product with all the paint and touches. And here's an unpainted first shot of that toy. Same thing here. You can see it with the kryptonite bullets, without. But really cool to spot some of the differences there. Moving on down, this is one stage of production we did not talk about. But when things were all ready to go, that means the packaging was finished, the item was finished, and they're ready to launch into production, they would slap one of these, at least at Kenner, they would slap one of these green tags on there, and this would basically act as the final sign-off sample to get the approval from the men upstairs. As you can see here, we've got a first shot Doomsday in non-production colors compared to the original one. We've got a first shot Superman here, and we have a couple heads. So right here we have an original head mold. That goes back to those rotocast molds we talked about earlier. Some first shot head molds. And these are a little bit different. Some of these are resin hard copies and some other things which we won't get into today. And then we've got a first shot steel over there as well. Moving down, we have some more pieces related to the card or packaging art from that Superman the Animated Series. We've got a first shot of the Conversion Coupe, which was a toy made by Kenner. Some more first shot action figures, and this is pretty cool right here. This is a first shot of the 1970s Dunham squirt gun. So pretty cool there. Moving down, we kind of already went into some of the mock-up pieces in the back, but this guy here is a 4-up of the Ertl DC Comics Superheroes die-cast. So this is a pretty cool piece. I actually got this in a hotel lobby after the Cincinnati, right before actually the Cincinnati Toy Show. There's always a little bit of a collector meetup there where people kind of bring their items for sale. And I found this at the bottom of a tote. We didn't know what it was at first, but I knew I wanted it. And eventually when I was able to compare it to that amazing Ertl piece there, I was so excited to get that. So back up to the top shelf here, we've got a couple more first shots, but these ones are a little bit special. So this guy right here is done in kind of a starry paint job. So this was a paint job that was not the final paint job. It never actually was released with that particular paint application. This here you can see is in pieces. So action figures have what's called sonic welding, where all those little pieces are eventually molded into a final welded figure. Well, this guy right here never ended up getting sonically welded. So all of the pieces are there, but it's kind of cool to have it in the pre-weld stage. This here is a first shot, undated figure from the 1989 Toy Biz DC Superheroes line. So one good way to tell a first shot is normally they don't have production markings or year markings or anything else on the figure. I can't remember if this one does or not, but we did determine it to be a first shot from some friend of mine. It came from an original employee. Down there, another awesome first shot. This is one of my favorite ones in that non-production pink, and you can see it next to the production figure back here. That's the Ultimate Superman by Kenner, and then a whole slew of first shot Superboy, Superman from the 2000s Justice League line all the way back to the Kenner lines. That's the villain Conduit, and then we've got some more non-sonic welded pieces. on the bottom. We've kind of went through some of these, but in the back you can see we have a proof sheet of the original cover art for the boxed Colorforms Adventure set. And then down here, we've got a whole slew of paperwork, which was kind of behind the scenes internal paperwork for those toy companies. But this is one of my favorite pieces, a first shot of the Darkseid vs. Superman Rock'em Sock'em robots. So before we wrap this video up, I want to cover one more thing here, and that's original art for toys and merchandise pieces and stuff like that. So I actually, a couple years ago, I connected with a guy by the name of Anthony, and Anthony reached out and shared that he was the actual designer of the Superman Returns ornament series in 2005 for the Kurt Adler Company. So Anthony and I were able to work something out where I was able to buy a whole stack of original artwork for these super cool ornaments, and these were some of my favorite ornaments growing up, so it meant a lot to me. But some really cool stuff there. So keep in mind too that the art just doesn't come from anywhere. It starts with original sketches just like this before being transformed to the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was certainly one I was excited to make. I love prototypes. I love the process of producing these toys that we all know, love, and collect. Hey, if you liked this video, it would mean the world to me if you could hit that subscribe button to make sure that you don't miss a video. Share this video with your friends and comment below. Let me know if you liked it. There are experts out there far more knowledgeable than me on the prototype process. So if I messed any details up in this video, please chime in the comment section below. Hey, we've got a lot of awesome videos to come, including a sneak peek at the mini George Reeves artifacts in my collection. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care and stay super.